I am the real daughter in the story of the true and fake heiresses. After going through countless hardships to return home, I thought I would finally have the family love I had always dreamed of, but I was burned alive in my room by my adoptive sister. In this new life, I have learned Muay Thai and how to go crazy. Come one weird brother, I'll beat one. Come a pair of foolish parents, I'll beat two. When Heidi takes action, it's one of a kind. The moment I opened my eyes, I had been reborn back to the time before I was recognized by the wealthy family. Looking at my hands with no burn marks, I couldn't help but cry and laugh at the same time, then kowtowed to the heavens. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. This time, I will definitely avenge myself. I quit my dishwashing job at the restaurant overnight and signed up for Muay Thai and Sanda classes, after training for 2 whole months. On my way to my part-time job, the bodyguard stopped me by the roadside. Miss, please come with us. As soon as I entered, Mrs. Santos looked me up and down, then covered her nose and mouth with a handkerchief, a look of disdain in her eyes. Such a rude thing, not even calling us mom and dad when you see us. Truly ill-mannered. Since you want to stay in the Santos family, start as a servant by Pearl's side. If you dare to neglect Pearl or harbor any ill intentions. Mrs. Santos let out a cold snort at me. The doors of the Santos family are not so easy to enter. At this moment, my dear sister Pearl was huddled in Mrs. Santos's arms, with glistening teardrops still hanging in her eyes. Mom, it's my fault for taking my sister's place, which made her turn out like this. At school, only those troublemakers are so rude. I heard they're really chaotic. As she spoke, Pearl covered her mouth in surprise, frowning as she looked at me. My sister definitely isn't that kind of person. Even a fool can easily see through such an attempt to sow discord. However, Mr. and Mrs. Santos were in full agreement with Pearl's words. Pearl is right. Who knows what viruses or bacteria she might have brought back with her, coming home so suddenly. Peter, take her to the hospital. Having a daughter like you is nothing but bad luck. I sneered coldly at what the two of them said. If you think I'm bad luck, then let me show you ignorant country bumpkins something even worse. I suddenly stepped forward, yanked Pearl out of Mrs. Santos's arms, and slapped her hard across the face twice. I glanced at the open bathroom door, dashed inside at bolt-like speed, grabbed a toilet brush, spun it 180 degrees in the toilet, and lifted it up. I dashed like the wind to Pearl's front. Are you so brazen because you have the Idiot Protection Association backing you up? You're the real heiress. I'm the real heiress. Why are you putting on such a high and mighty act in front of me? Is your face made of yoga pants? How can you act so pretentious in front of these two idiots? And the smell from your mouth is absolutely foul. Did you accidentally stuff a laxative in there? Don't worry, little sister, big sister will clean it for you right away. I grabbed Pearl by the hair with a mop in hand, and while she cried out in pain, I shoved the toilet brush straight into her mouth. I began brushing her foul-smelling, rotten mouth like a whirlwind, not missing a single spot. Top to bottom, left to right, even between her teeth. Everyone present was stunned by my actions. Whenever Pearl tried to cry out, I pressed in harder. She didn't dare open her mouth, only casting pleading glances at Mr. and Mrs. Santos. The two of them looked at Pearl with heartache and glared at me with anger. Heidi, stop it right now, or the Santos family will disown you. I yanked the mop out of Pearl's mouth and flung it, reeking of the toilet and foul saliva, directly onto Mr. Santos's face. Oh my God, this is just perfect. When I get back, I'll have to hang 2 strings of firecrackers to celebrate. Don't ask me why not the big ones. Anything over $10. You two old geezers aren't worthy of. Mr. and Mrs. Santos were trembling with rage, but as they eyed my toilet brush, neither dared to step closer to rescue their beloved daughter. Mrs. Santos wanted to call the bodyguards to restrain me, but she didn't dare act rashly because I had Pearl under my control. Watching as Pearl began to roll her eyes from my actions, Mrs. Santos finally gritted her teeth and forced a smile at me. Heidi, stop joking with Mom and Dad. You are our dearest child. How could we not love you? Everything that just happened was just a misunderstanding. You must be tired from the journey. I'll have Pearl apologize to you, so you can go back and rest for a while. The bedroom was personally arranged by my mother for you. Go ahead and see if you're satisfied with it. Upon hearing Mrs. Santos' words, I immediately threw the toilet brush aside and tightly grabbed Pearl by the neck with both hands. Ha ha ha, did you hear that? Your mom doesn't want you anymore. Apologize to me now, or I'll strangle you." My grimacing expression scared Pearl so much that she trembled. She gritted her teeth and apologized to me. I'm sorry, sister, it's all my fault. I shouldn't have upset you on your first day back, but I only did it for your own good. If you've really done something bad outside, you should tell Mom and Dad now. We'll all forgive you." Seeing that she was still acting like a manipulative hypocrite, I went up and slapped her twice across the face. "What's with all this passive-aggressive nonsense? You're insinuating that I'm not clean. If your mouth has nothing better to do, go lick the toilet clean and become something everyone praises. If you dare act like a two-faced hypocrite in front of me again, you'd better watch your face." After saying that, I threw Pearl to the ground like trash. "Where is my room? Take me there." Seeing that I wasn't going to cause a scene, Mr. Santos gave Mrs. Santos a look, signaling her to take me to the room. Mrs. Santos glanced at Pearl with pity, then coldly led me to my room. "Your father and I thought the small room was cozier, so we saved the best small room for you," I sneered. It was the same in my past life. All because Pearl once said she didn't like me being around her. Mrs. Santos then arranged to dump me in the storage room like trash. That place was cold, damp, and filled with all the junk Pearl didn't want. Any item in there could clearly show the affection Mr. and Mrs. Santos had for her. I followed Mrs. Santos into that storage room. As soon as we entered, Mrs. Santos's dislike for me was completely exposed. Her eyes scanned me from head to toe, and then she gave me a condescending command. "You should be grateful that we took you back. We only recognize Pearl as our daughter. Don't even think about anything that doesn't belong to you. Reflect on what happened today. If Pearl isn't upset, that's fine, but if she is angry, you must go out and kneel to apologize and beg for her forgiveness." As Mrs. Santos was about to leave, I flexed my wrist, lifted the folding bed, and threw off the blanket. Bang! Mrs. Santos froze in surprise, and I immediately stepped forward and grabbed her by the hair. "Old man, your eyes are failing you in your old age. Can't even tell who your real daughter is. You're just a bully who picks on the weak. I'm going to teach you a lesson right now." After I yanked a handful of Mrs. Santos' hair, she finally got a real sense of my madness. I pointed to the room upstairs. "I want to sleep in Pearl's current room. Get it arranged for me. If I don't get to sleep there tonight, no one in the Santos family will get any sleep. You high society folks care about your reputation, but someone like me from a humble background doesn't. I'll just start a live stream and show everyone how the Santos family treats their own flesh and blood. How about that? Do you think it'll go viral? Will your rivals be pleased?" Pearl was sobbing on the side. "Mom, if it would make my sister feel better, I'm willing to give up my room. I don't mind." Mrs. Santos looked at me as if I were a monster, showing no sign of treating me like her own daughter. "Heidi, how could you be like this? A daughter of the Santos family would never be so petty. How could you fight with Pearl over a room? Why are you so unreasonable?" I didn't care at all about what she said. "If you don't consider me your daughter, I don't consider you my mother either. Just treat me as someone who was born but not raised by a mother. After all, I grew up in an orphanage, and no one taught me how to be a good person to avoid being bullied." Upon hearing my words, Mr. and Mrs. Santos choked up, as if a sudden sense of kinship returned to their minds for a moment. In the end, they did tidy up a room next to Pearl's. Pearl nestled in Mrs. Santos's arms, speaking softly, but her gaze would occasionally glance over at me with a hint of pride. Her attitude clearly on display. Meanwhile, Mrs. Santos held her gently, comforting her and promising to buy her more jewelry to make up for the wrong she had suffered. "It's hilarious. I'm just living in my own house, and someone's holding a grudge against me for it. If people heard about this, they'd die laughing. In this new life, I won't indulge her bad habits anymore." So I smiled at her. "If you keep staring, I'll gouge your eyes out." Pearl immediately snuggled into Mrs. Santos's arms to complain about me, but I didn't mind. Not long after I lay down, my door was kicked open. Outside, Pearl was pretending to hold onto the man's sleeve. "Brother, it's only natural for sister to be resentful since she just came back. Please don't let me come between you two." Even though she hit me really hard, I don't blame her at all. Jason felt heartbroken for Pearl and looked at me with intense disgust. "You, take your filthy things and get out of the Santos family. In this house, I only recognize Pearl as my sister. Where did you come from, you bastard, to cause trouble in our home? If Mom and Dad won't discipline you, I'll teach you a lesson today about what respect means." As he spoke, Jason cracked his knuckles and walked toward me, clearly intending to help Pearl vent her anger on me. Without a word, I suddenly stood up from the bed and slapped Jason hard across the face. "Don't mention it. Beating a cowardly bastard like you, who shares the same roots as me, is just a matter of convenience." Jason froze in place. He never expected that I, the ugly duckling who just returned, would dare to lay a hand on him, his own brother. "Oh my, Heidi, how could you hit your brother? He was just a bit rude to you, but his intentions were all for your good, brother. Don't take it to heart with Heidi. I apologize on his behalf." Jason's mind went blank for a moment, and his eyes turned red with rage. With Pearl adding fuel to the fire, he lunged at me, aiming to grab my neck. "Little ones, I was fighting when you were still playing in the mud at home," I sneered and kicked him directly in the stomach. Jason instantly clutched his belly, falling to the ground and rolling around while screaming, looking as wretched as a rabid dog. "Ah, Heidi, how could you hit your brother like that? Brother, are you okay, brother?" Pearl's shouts were so loud that they immediately brought Mr. and Mrs. Santos upstairs. Hearing the noise from the stairs, Pearl curled her lips into a smirk before quickly dropping it, then threw herself onto Jason and started crying. I rolled my eyes. "The person isn't even dead yet, and you're here crying every single day. You could easily become a professional mourner in the future." As soon as Mr. and Mrs. Santos arrived, they saw this scene. With Pearl's explanation that I had laid hands on Jason, Mr. Santos didn't hesitate and slapped me hard across the face. "Bitch, how could our family produce such a heartless, ungrateful thing who dares to hit her own brother? Get back to your orphanage. The Santos family has no place for you." Mrs. Santos looked utterly disappointed. "Everything was fine at home without you. Why do so many problems arise as soon as you come back?" I took that slap without flinching, then fiercely slapped Pearl across the face twice. "It doesn't matter, whoever you care about. I'll slap them." Mr. Santos immediately looked like he was about to slap me again to get back at me for Pearl. I then expressionlessly took out my voice recorder and played the entire process of the two coming to cause trouble from start to finish. Mr. Santos fell silent for a moment. "You still shouldn't have laid a hand on your brother. He was just playing around with you. Would your brother really dare to hit you when you just got home? You're too aggressive. And I don't know whose bad influence you've picked up." The Santos family rushed Jason to the hospital, leaving me aside without even an apology. Pearl looked at me with a proud expression. "You're nothing but a brute who only knows how to use your fists. Mom, Dad, and my brother will never like you." After saying this, she immediately followed them, her face full of a hypocritical concern that was truly nauseating. I had the servant prepare the meal, and then I enjoyed a dinner of 3 dishes and a soup all by myself. By the time the Santos family returned, only scraps of the food were left. Mr. Santos glanced at my swollen face but said nothing, while Mrs. Santos stepped forward and took my hand. "Good child, what parent doesn't love their own child? We were just overwhelmed with anger today and said those things. I'm sure you'll forgive Mom and Dad. Tomorrow is Monday, and we've already transferred your school registration to Pearl's school. From now on, you'll study together, listen to Pearl more, and she'll help you improve gradually." I nodded, recalling how I had been repeatedly ostracized after entering school in my previous life. I told Mr. and Mrs. Santos, but they said, "Why is it that only you are being bullied and not others? You should look for the reasons within yourself." Once again, I decided to carefully search for the so-called reasons in Pearl. I always felt that Mr. and Mrs. Santos couldn't possibly be this kind-hearted. After seeing Pearl sneak into the study, my suspicions were finally confirmed. Seeing the door closed, I gently leaned over and pressed my ear against it. "Mom and Dad, Heidi is just a savage. I doubt she's had any schooling all these years. What if she offends someone she shouldn't at school?" I had a gut feeling that this matter was not simple, so I immediately turned on my camera and voice recorder. Pearl in the room stomped her feet anxiously, and Mrs. Santos quickly pulled her into her arms. "Good child, at such a young age, you worry about the family everywhere. Mom is sorry for you. I shouldn't have brought that wretched one back. Your father and I know you've been wrong during this time. At home, she has a lot of tricks up her sleeve, although we favor you. We can't directly point out her faults. Once she's at school, if she makes a mistake, you can deal with her however you like. Make her apologize to you in any way you want. Just don't go so far as to kill her." A hint of ruthlessness flashed across Mrs. Santos's face, and Mr. Santos, standing beside her, remained silent but nodded in agreement. I left the study door feeling completely satisfied. Not bad. If you're so heartless to your own daughter, then I won't be polite either. On Monday, Pearl was gently woken up by the nanny, had her meal, and then took a car back to school. As for me, the nanny gave me a glare, and all the leftovers from Pearl's meal were piled in front of me. The nanny wiped the table while grumbling and cursing. What's with the attitude of a spoiled young lady here? In the end, you're just someone with a mother who gave birth to you but never loved you. Day after day, you dream of living a good life, yet you don't even know your own worth or capabilities. How dare you compete with our Miss Pearl? You're not even as good as the dog our young lady keeps. I put down my chopsticks and called the nanny over to me. She threw down her rag and strode over to me with an imposing air, as if she thought I could do anything to her. I smiled at her, picked up the bowl of plain congee from the table, and poured it right over her head. The nanny screamed and flailed her hands wildly, trying to hit me, but I kicked her 2 meters away. I walked up to her with a smile on my face. Remember, as long as I'm here, you will always be nothing but a servant. When a servant talks nonsense here, the master should give you some punishment. This is the first time. If there's a second time, I'll make you crawl out of the Santos family. The driver had already left early, and I took the bus to the classroom, where a large group of people had already gathered around Pearl. Ever since this sister of mine came back, she's been hitting me and verbally abusing our parents at home every day. I tried to kindly stop her, but she ended up slapping me, and she even schemed against my brother so badly that his leg got broken. Also, before she was recognized and brought back, it seems she used to hang out with some troublemakers. My mom said people with that kind of illness tend to smell bad. Hearing this, Pearl's admirers and girlfriends in the classroom grew increasingly furious. Pearl, how dare she bully you like this? Just wait, when she gets here, we'll get revenge for you. If she dares to mess with you, we'll make sure she leaves here on a stretcher. I stood at the door, listening to the whole thing, and sighed silently to myself. Great, I was already in a bad mood and didn't know how to vent, but Pearl just handed herself over for me to hit. I'm so touched. I kicked the door open with a bang. Hello everyone. I'm the so-called wicked and unforgivable Heidi you've been talking about, and I'm also the true young lady of the Santos family. How do you plan to avenge her? Tell me all about it. The class didn't seem to expect me to make such a grand entrance. Pearl's sobbing could be heard as she huddled tightly on the bench, looking utterly terrified and overwhelmed. Sis, I know I was wrong. Please stop hitting me. Sis, I'm sorry. Bob, don't touch my sister. The people in the class immediately surrounded me. The leader, Bob, pointed at me with his middle finger. You, go apologize to Pearl right now. In our class, Pearl is the recognized young lady of the Santos family. What are you, a country bumpkin, doing here trying to stir up trouble? Apologize now, or you won't have an easy time here. We'll make sure you're well taken care of. I nodded gently and set down my backpack. As I unzipped it, the kitchen knife made its appearance. I swiftly pulled out my kitchen knife, smiling as I looked at the boy. You want to stand up for Pearl, right? But did she tell you that I'm actually mentally ill? I have medical records. So, I brandished the knife, turning in a circle to face the people surrounding me. Today, I could kill you all and it wouldn't be against the law. As I said this, I grinned, picked up the kitchen knife, and wildly swung it around the classroom while cursing and moving closer to Pearl. Everyone present dodged away quickly. You're talking about me, huh? Watch me go spray DDT on your great-grandma's grave and ask her why her family is so unlucky to have produced a scumbag like you. Pearl, watch me kill all of you right now, and after I've killed you all, I'll kill myself. Since you want to disgust me, then let's all just die, die, die. My kitchen knife directly sliced off Pearl's bangs. She was stunned for a moment, seeing that I was serious. Pearl was terrified and scrambled to kneel, clutching my feet, with snot and tears smearing all over her face. I'm sorry, sister, I was wrong. I won't dare to do it again. I won't talk nonsense anymore. I'm the adopted daughter of the Santos family. Please put the knife down. Sister, I'm still so young. I don't want to die. Go home and cut Mom, Dad, and my brother instead. Please spare my life. I beg you. I kicked her far away and placed the kitchen knife against the neck of Bob, who had just threatened me. Oh, what a plump person. Slicing someone like this must feel great. Tell me, how do you want to die? Chopped into pieces or sliced? with or without the bones removed. I wiped my drool with a slurping sound. So much fat, I love it, I can't wait to dig in. As I moved the tip of my knife, a bloodstain appeared on Bob's neck. I chuckled and continued to exert force. The person who had been stubbornly staring at me moments ago suddenly dropped to their knees with a thud, clutching my leg and screaming for help. "Aw, Mom, save me, I won't dare do it again. Please don't do this, I was wrong, I really know I was wrong. From now on, you're my big sister, I'll do whatever you say, just don't eat me. I'm too fat, I won't taste good." I pointed the knife at the people who had surrounded me earlier. "What about you?" Everyone present shook their heads in unison. Each one stepping back 10 meters away from Pearl. No one dared to say they wanted to avenge her or challenge me anymore. Satisfied, I put my kitchen knife back into my bag and blinked my big eyes. "All right, dear classmates, where are the empty seats? Where do you think I should sit?" Under the influence of my violent methods, not many students in the class were still on Pearl's side. After giving a stick, a candy should follow. Soon, the people in the class became familiar with me, but Pearl, on the other hand, seemed somewhat isolated. She looked at me with hatred in her eyes, but lately, she hasn't done anything. To minimize encounters with Santos' family, I specifically chose to live on campus. It wasn't until the night before the college entrance exam that I returned home at Mrs. Santos' strong insistence. Mrs. Santos picked up a piece of eggplant with her chopsticks and placed it in my bowl. "Heidi, you must have had a tough time at school. Here, try the dish I specially cooked for you." I expressionlessly picked it out and threw it into the trash can. "Sorry, I'm allergic to eggplant." Mrs. Santos was about to lose her temper, but Pearl held her hand and winked at her. "It's fine, today, my sister is the most important person. If she doesn't feel like eating, she doesn't have to. Sister, stay at home tonight, it's closer to the school tomorrow, so it'll be more convenient for you to take the college entrance exam." I took a bite of rice, nodded, and said I had no appetite before heading upstairs. Just after I finished showering, Mrs. Santos came upstairs with a glass of milk and a few candles, smiling as she sat on my bed. "Heidi, you haven't come home for so long. Are you still upset with Mom and Dad? Tell me, where in the world are there parents who don't love their own child? We just needed a little time to adjust to you, but in the blink of an eye, you've grown so much. And now you're even about to take the college entrance exams." Mrs. Santos sniffled, two clear tears streaming down her face. "The more I think about it, the more ashamed I feel for letting you down. I specially warmed up some milk for you. Have a sip and get to sleep quickly. Don't let it affect tomorrow's exam. In the hearts of me, your dad, your brother, and your sister, you are the most amazing girl." Hearing this, I threw myself into Mrs. Santos's arms, greedily soaking in the warmth of a mother's embrace. "Mom, this is the last time I'll call you Mom." My voice was very soft, so Mrs. Santos didn't hear it. However, my sudden embrace made Mrs. Santos stiffen. Then she also hugged me, gently patting my back with great affection. After a few seconds, Mrs. Santos pushed me aside and handed the milk to me. "It's getting late, drink it quickly. Your mother warmed this up for you herself, so you can't let her down. The villa's electrical system needs some repairs tonight, so I've left a candle on the table for you. Light it if you're afraid of the dark." I nodded obediently, took a few sips of the milk, and placed it back on the table. "Thank you, Mom, but my stomach hasn't been digesting well lately, so I can't drink too much milk. I have an exam tomorrow, and I don't want anything to go wrong." After watching me swallow, Mrs. Santos seemed quite satisfied, and her attitude turned cold. "All right. Go to sleep now, don't leave the light on. You don't know how hard it is to earn money until you're in charge. Young people just love to waste." I followed her words, turned off the light, and lay down on the bed. Before long, I felt an overwhelming drowsiness wash over me. Just before falling asleep, I heard the sound of the door being opened. "Jason, bring those homeless people in." All members of the Santos family entered my room. They looked at me, who was in a deep sleep, with great satisfaction. "This little brat, no matter how capable she is just a child. She hasn't seen enough of the tricks we adults have. Has her accidental insurance been taken care of? We'll get the compensation if she dies, right?" Mrs. Santos glanced at the homeless man and answered Jason's questions in great detail. Jason patted his chest excitedly. "I bought insurance for her long ago. That bitch actually dared to bully Pearl. If it weren't for Pearl's good plan, Our entire Santos family would never have peace in this lifetime. Once these homeless people are taken care of, light a candle in the corner. When the fire starts, run quickly. Pearl, follow me, I'll protect you and get you out. Pearl nestled into Jason's arms, her eyes red and teary. Mom, Dad, brother, will Heidi be angry if we do this? Mr. Santos ruffled her hair. You always care too much about others, child. If it weren't for reputation and blood ties, we would never have taken in such trash. You are the little princess of the Santos family, the child your mother and I have cherished for over a decade. After Heidi is burned to death, your mother and I will announce you as the only young lady of the Santos family, and our family will live happily together from now on. The Santos family's few words quickly sketched out their affection, while I, Heidi, felt like trash that had been carelessly discarded and was eagerly waiting to be destroyed. Glancing at the time, Jason nudged the homeless man beside him. Go on, you're in for a treat today. Several people left my room laughing heartily, even discussing when would be the best time to show this recording after I die. Not only do they want me dead, but they also want me to pave the way for Pearl, so that others can see how truly kind and beautiful Pearl is compared to me, the disgraced real heiress. The homeless man rubbed his hands together as he approached me. His hand just inches away from touching me. I opened my eyes and stared straight at them. Seeing that I had woken up, the men not only showed no fear but actually became excited. I curled the corner of my mouth and threw a punch directly at the homeless man's eye. I haven't laid a hand on anyone in a long time. Today is your lucky day. Screams filled the room, and it wasn't long before the homeless men were beaten to the brink of death. Lying on the floor, I sat on the floor, my whole body covered in cold sweat. In my previous life, I died in the room exactly like this. I drank the milk laced with something by Mrs. Santos and fell into a coma, waking up covered in a foul stench. Before I could even react, the fire broke out. My door was tightly locked, the windows were sealed shut, and with no way to escape, I was burned to death by the flames. That pain is etched into my bones, tormenting me day and night. Today, I can finally break free from this nightmare. When the Santos family came up, I was sitting on the bed, smiling brightly as I looked at them. Jason let out a furious roar when he saw that I was completely unharmed. How is this possible? How could you be fine? I punched him right in the face, sending Jason tumbling to the ground. My dear parents, can you explain to me what happened today? Seeing me stepping on Jason, I applied more pressure, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. After a few rounds of this, Mrs. Santos's eyes reddened with distress. Stop stepping on your brother, Heidi. Let me tell you, no one in this family likes you. You're too violent, immature, and disobedient. Our Santos family has never needed a bad seed like you. Pearl was raised by us, and she is our perfect daughter. But a violent person like you is nothing but a stain on us, and no one likes a stain. We'd be free if you were dead. Why did you wake up? Why didn't you just die? Mrs. Santos wept bitterly, looking at me as if I were her greatest enemy. Pearl held on to Mrs. Santos's arm. Mom and Dad, Pearl loves you the most. Sister, what happened today is all Pearl's fault. Please don't blame Mom and Dad. They love you the most, and they only said those things because they were a little angry that you hit our brother. Please let him out quickly. No matter what, he is still our brother. As she spoke, she looked at me with a mocking and triumphant expression. See, even at this point, your family still loves me the most. I let out a light laugh and stomped on Jason again, knocking him out cold. If you didn't want me back, you could have just torn up the test results. The Santos family's affairs shouldn't involve outsiders, so why did you insist on bringing me back? Let me guess. Did Pearl think that the real heiress like me would eventually threaten her position? So she deliberately made a big deal out of the test results to have me brought back and kept under your watchful eyes. My flaws only serve to highlight your beauty and kindness. The first time you saw me resort to violence, you must have been secretly pleased, thinking I was nothing but a brainless brute who only knows how to use force, immediately causing trouble and displeasing the whole family. Your position has grown more and more secure. And now you've reached the point where you'd be happy to see me dead, haven't you? Pearl looked at me as if I were a demon and hastily took 2 steps back. Sister, how could you think of me that way? Mom and Dad just can't bear to see you suffer outside. You are the eldest daughter of the Santos family. How could you remain adrift out there? I only meant well. Why do you always misunderstand me like this? As she spoke, tears streamed down her face one by one, making her look like a delicate, blooming white lotus. Mr. and Mrs. Santos immediately shielded Pearl, as if my mere glance at her was causing her severe harm. Enough, stop targeting Pearl. If you want to leave, just go. We're cutting all ties with you. Having a daughter like you is such a curse. We never should have taken you back in the first place. It would have been better if you had just died out there. See, these are my biological parents. Sometimes I even wonder if Pearl has cast some kind of spell on them to make them favor her so much, but the truth is right in front of me. They just don't want me. They just don't want me to be their daughter. Do you think I want to come back with disrespectful parents, a brainless brother, and a sister who's a blooming lotus? Every second I spend here makes me sick to my stomach. You're the ones who brought me back. You're the ones who wanted to acknowledge me, and now everything is my fault. Let me ask you this. Who brought these homeless people here, Mrs.? Santos stepped forward immediately. It was me. We planned to use the video of your burning to prove our innocence. You died in a fire after knocking over a candle in a daze, and we could finally be rid of you. I had it all planned out. Pearl looked at me, her eyes turning venomous. Mom, my sister didn't die today. What if she talks about this? She loves to hit people and talk too much. If this gets out, our reputation will be ruined, Mr. Santos looked at Pearl with satisfaction, as expected of my daughter, always so thoughtful. She wasn't burned to death today just by luck, but she still deserves to die. As he spoke, he clapped his hands, and over a dozen bodyguards stood outside my room. Strangle her and dump her somewhere. I know you, Heidi, can fight, but these are Muay Thai bodyguards I hired at a high price. Heidi, don't blame us for being ruthless. In your next life, learn how to behave and be likable. The bodyguards entered my room, but I calmly retrieved my phone from the corner behind the curtain. Dear fans, did everyone record the screen today? In the future, if I need your videos as evidence, could you send me a copy? These are my parents, brother, and sister. They had a homeless person dirty me and then tried to burn me to death. When they saw I didn't die, they hired someone to beat me to death. Remember the name Santos Family Group. Don't use their products anymore. No one present expected that I was actually live streaming. Soon, several people came up to snatch my things, but I nimbly dodged them again and again. After a few minutes of stalling, the police finally arrived at the door. I had already called the police long before I drank Mrs. Santos's milk, and I accounted for every single minute. With the experience from my past life, as soon as Mrs. Santos came in to bring me milk, I started a live stream and specifically brought up the hottest college entrance exam topic to attract a large audience. Every move the Santos family made was witnessed by countless people. The police were also watching the live stream the entire time, and everyone was my witness. If they want to send me to hell, I don't mind kicking them all down there first. All members of the Santos family have been criminally detained. I steadily took the college entrance exam, and this time, I finally achieved my dream. The Santos family's business faced a public boycott of its products due to the escalating situation, and it soon reached the brink of bankruptcy. I smiled and thanked my all-black-clad senior brothers in the restaurant. Thank you for helping me act out this scene. If it weren't for you, I might have actually gotten beaten up. All the bodyguards Mr. Santos hired were my seniors and juniors from the Muay Thai gym I had known for 2 months. As soon as they heard the Santos family was hiring, they signed up without hesitation, which is why they pretended to catch me and snatch the phone in the room. In reality, I didn't even get a scratch, and I even managed to turn the tables and get the Santos family's people arrested. The senior and junior brothers laughed as they raised their glasses. Heidi, I hope you can be happy and joyful in the future. The past is dark and cannot be reclaimed, but the road ahead is bright and brilliant. I smiled and drank the wine, and from then on, my path was bright. When the college entrance exam scores came out, I went to visit the Santos family in prison. Mr. and Mrs. Santos immediately started cursing. I waved the bankruptcy records of the Santos family in front of them and then pulled up the live stream, placing it before their eyes. Your home is gone. Pearl's testimony says it was all instigated by the two of you. She was bailed out, sold your house and cars, and even went live to say that you abused her too. In the live stream, Pearl was hurling insults at everyone in the Santos family, showing none of the kindness and goodness she once had. Mrs. Santos listened to Pearl's filthy words directed at her in disbelief. She had never imagined that her beloved daughter, whom she cherished like a pearl, could harbor such hatred for her. Mr. Santos was even more disoriented, torn between the company and his child. One wrong move, and he could end up with nothing. I didn't go looking for Jason, because I specifically paid to have someone inside take good care of him. I heard he suffered a lot in there, especially in a certain area, and that kind of good news kept me happy for a long time. Stepping out of the prison, I took a deep breath. Heidi was never a treasure, but I have learned to love myself. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. In the 3rd year after being taken home, I died. The murderer pushed me into the traffic in full view of everyone. My beloved father said to the murderer, "Don't blame yourself. It's not your fault." My loving mother said to the murderer, "It's okay. You are my only daughter." My dear brother said to the murderer, "A woman like her should have died long ago. Living only brings shame to our family." When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the moment I was first brought home. I realized I had been reborn while sitting in the car my biological parents were driving to take me home. A well-dressed noblewoman wept uncontrollably as she expressed how much she had missed me, and a man in a suit, his eyes red, promised to make up for the hardships I had endured over the past decade, in my previous life. I naively thought I had found a home and would no longer have to wander around. I cried and threw myself into their arms, overwhelmed with emotion, but 3 years later, I died in front of them, my body even torn to pieces. I thought my parents and brother, who had always looked down on me, would weep bitterly and regret their past actions, but they just looked at me with disgust, even repeatedly comforting the murderer that it wasn't her fault, so my reaction was very subdued. And the car fell into an eerie silence. In this silent atmosphere, we arrived at the Upton family villa. As soon as we got out of the car, Winnie rushed over. She was wearing an exquisite princess dress and, like a doll, was acting coquettishly toward Mrs. Upton. Mrs. Upton chided Winnie while stroking her hair. Her eyes filled with undeniable affection. Even Mr. Upton couldn't help but smile at the corners of his mouth, creating a harmonious scene among the three of them. After a while, the three seemed to finally notice my presence and quickly changed the subject awkwardly, pulling me inside with them. I certainly didn't miss the fleeting look of provocation Winnie gave me. However, I just glanced at her indifferently, without giving her too much attention. "My dear daughter, are you still not used to it? It's okay, Mom will take you to choose a room first." With that, Mrs. Upton was about to lead me upstairs. At that moment, Winnie spoke up at the right time. "Mom, let me take my sister there. It's a good chance for us to bond." Last time, I foolishly followed Winnie upstairs, and she took me to her room. The entire room was decorated warmly and beautifully, with a family photo of the Upton family on the nightstand. As soon as we entered the room, Winnie dropped her smile and warned me, "I'm telling you, you're just a country bumpkin. Mom and Dad still love me the most. You'd better be smart and leave quietly, or I have 1,000 ways to make you get out." At the time, I was still immersed in the joy of just returning home, feeling my parents' care for the first time. I thought I had some confidence. I, who took false love as my trump card, was afraid of being abandoned again and bluffed. "Impossible. Mom and Dad love me. Clearly, it's you who should move out." These words happened to be overheard by Mr. and Mrs. Upton, who had just arrived, and a hint of displeasure appeared on both their faces. Winnie's eyes reddened. "I'm sorry, sister. I know I've taken your place. If my presence here makes you unhappy, I'll leave right now." As she spoke, she began to pack her belongings but was stopped by Mrs. Upton. Mother and daughter confided in each other. Standing by, felt very confused. Clearly, I am their biological daughter, so why do they look at me with dissatisfaction and anger in their eyes? Mr. Upton brushed the matter aside, saying, "All right, enough about leaving without my permission. No one has the right to drive anyone away." Mr. Upton looked at me with dissatisfaction and anger in his eyes. Later, I was assigned to another room. I had seen Winnie's room, and compared to hers, this room was small and poorly ventilated. Moreover, the room felt cold and unwelcoming, not like a space for family but more like a guest room. That afternoon, after moving into the room, my brother John stormed in angrily and dragged me out while I was reading. I never expected my first meeting with my half-brother to happen under such circumstances. He was furious and shouted sharply, "Do you have any manners? She is my sister. What right do you have to kick her out?" I was completely stunned. John was nearly a head taller than me, and his grip on my shoulder grew increasingly tight, making me physically afraid. I screamed for Mom and Dad, hoping they would come to my rescue. Mr. and Mrs. Upton, who rushed over in a hurry. Were startled by the scene before them. Before they could even speak, John took the initiative. Mom and Dad, what are you thinking? A country bumpkin from the countryside, and she dares to try and drive Winnie out. Does she want to take over Winnie's room? I'm telling you, absolutely not. Mr. and Mrs. Upton looked embarrassed and didn't know what to say. I keenly noticed the flash of anger in Mrs. Upton's eyes as she looked at me. I'm all too familiar with that kind of look. When I was in the countryside, my adoptive father, who favored boys over girls and died early, often looked at me this way. So, my parents really did dislike me. I lived so cautiously for 3 years, only to end up dying in the traffic. When the truck ran over me, it really hurt. It hurt so much. I never want to feel pain again in this lifetime. I declined Winnie's request and pointed to the room I had lived in during my previous life. Just this one, Mr. and Mrs. Upton. Seeing that I had chosen this room, pretended to scold me, saying, "Oh, this is a guest room, why did you choose this one?" That being said, he didn't ask me to choose another room. I'm used to small rooms, they make me feel safer. My tone was cold, tinged with a hint of self-mockery. And so, after being missing for over a decade, I was assigned to the guest room. Winnie is very satisfied with the current arrangement, unable to hide the pride in the corners of her eyes and brows. In my past life, she spent 3 years suppressing me, telling me that no one in this family stood by me, that no one loved me, yet, no matter how grave her mistakes, there was always someone to shield her. And only after death did I finally understand one truth, in this world. Only you will always love yourself, and only you will never betray yourself. After entering the guest room, I closed the door. Winnie brought over the leftover porridge she had been drinking and said, "Sister, I'm not in good health. My mom often makes me tonics, but I don't want to drink them, yet she forces me to." Her tone was provocative as she said, "I really can't finish this, and my mom will be angry if she sees it. Could you finish the rest for me?" I had no intention of opening the door for her and replied, "No, thank you." Winnie genuinely wanted me to drink it. She was just showing off how much Mrs. Upton doted on her. Even I, as the biological daughter, never received such treatment upon returning home. Winnie hummed a cheerful tune as she left. I opened the package I had brought with me, tidied up the few belongings I had, and then opened the book. In this new life, I will love myself well, with my current abilities. Taking good care of my health and achieving academic success is the best way forward. After a while, I faintly heard Winnie's sobbing, "Mom, sister, she barely talks to me. Does she not like me? Well, I guess I'm the extra one in this family." Mr. and Mrs. Upton quickly comforted her. I silently took out my earplugs and turned a page of the book. I stretched lazily, and by the time I went downstairs, the villa was already cold and deserted. Aunt Wang, who was cooking, looked at me and said with a pained expression, "The master and madam saw that the young lady was in a bad mood, so they took her out to relax." I nodded indifferently and asked Aunt Wang to prepare the meal, perhaps seeing that I, a young girl who had just been found, hadn't had the chance to share a meal with my family. Aunt Wang looked at me with deep sympathy in her eyes. I didn't care where they had gone. My current goal was to restore my health to a normal level, back in the countryside. My adoptive parents would either beat or scold me, and I often lived a life of hunger and cold. I am severely malnourished and suffer from various health issues like anemia and painful periods. I stuffed a piece of beef into my mouth, thinking about when to schedule a comprehensive checkup. After eating and drinking my fill, I returned to my room and started calculating how much money I had on hand. I took out the red envelopes from the package one by one, and the total came to nearly $200,000. These were given to me by some people the Uptons knew when they picked me up. For a girl who grew up in a remote and impoverished area, this was already a substantial amount of money. I carefully put the money away, planning to deposit it in the bank. I knew that for the next 3 years of high school and beyond, I would have to rely on this money to survive. When I was in middle school in the countryside, my homeroom teacher helped me open a bank card, and all my scholarship subsidies from middle school were deposited into this card. The teacher knew about my family situation and secretly told me that I should only use this card when I was at my most difficult time. Unfortunately, when I hurried back, I had already boarded the car and didn't have time to say a proper goodbye to her. I wonder how sad this caring homeroom teacher, who treated me so kindly in this life, would be upon hearing the news of my death. I clenched the bank card in my hand, vowing to live a good life from now on. following the memories from my past life. I walked to the bank. Just after depositing the money into my card, I turned around and bumped into someone. The man was dressed in a suit, with several people following him, constantly bowing and scraping. I took a second look and realized it was my own brother, John. But obviously, he didn't recognize me. Well, it makes sense, after all. Mr. and Mrs. Upton called him in front of me, asking him to come back. Only to get a response like, "What country bumpkin? Is she even worth my time to come back and meet her?" The call ended abruptly, and Mr. and Mrs. Upton looked a bit embarrassed. I, however, acted as if I hadn't noticed, so it was no surprise to me that he didn't recognize me. I had no intention of striking up a conversation with him and left the bank after finishing my business. When I got home, the atmosphere in the house felt a bit strange. Mr. Upton, Mrs. Upton, and Winnie were sitting on the sofa, looking at me with very odd expressions. In my previous life, Winnie falsely accused me of stealing her necklace, branding me as vain, ill-mannered, and dishonest, but I never expected it to happen so early this time. Under the scrutiny of the three parties, I remained calm and showed no sign of guilt. Winnie couldn't help but speak up. "Sister, how could you steal my things, even though you are our parents' biological daughter? Such bad habits will only bring shame to them in the future. If you like something, just tell me, and I'll give it to you. How could you steal?" Winnie looked at me with an expression of concern. Mr. and Mrs. Upton also looked at me with disappointment. Just then, John came back. Without even asking for an explanation, they stood in front of Winnie and said, "No wonder I saw you at the bank today. So it was you who stole Winnie's things to sell them. You really are a wild girl from the countryside." John's appearance undoubtedly gave Winnie more confidence. Crying, she said, "Sister, I know you don't like me. I've taken what's yours, and I can leave, but you must change your flaws, or you'll bring great disaster to the Upton family in the future." Mr. and Mrs. Upton comforted her once again. Having walked such a long way, I was already irritable and really didn't want to listen to their chatter, so I directly interrupted their warm moment. "The Upton family has such a large villa. There must be surveillance cameras, right? Whether I took it or not can be easily verified by checking the footage. Besides, as someone who just arrived in the capital, how could I have sold the necklace and deposited the money in the bank in such a short time?" I looked at John. "As the heir of the Upton family, can you just accuse me of theft without even clarifying the facts?" After I finished speaking, the expressions on everyone's faces were quite telling. The butler promptly produced the surveillance footage. I left around 5:40, and it was not even 7:00 yet. The nearest second-hand luxury goods recycling station is nearly an hour's drive from Upton's house. Clearly, I am not the murderer they claim me to be. Mrs. Upton looked at me, a flicker of shame in her eyes, as if she wanted to take my hand and say something. I really didn't want to get too entangled with them, so I pretended not to see and went back to my room. I knew that even if it was obvious that Winnie had framed me, they wouldn't give me an explanation. They would only think that Winnie is too insecure, which is why she resorts to such trivial matters to seek attention from her family. Having lived a second life, I no longer hold any hope. Just as I finished washing up and was about to rest, John knocked on the door. After opening the door, John still wore a haughty expression. "Even if you didn't take Winnie's necklace, what were you doing at the bank today?" I answered truthfully. John sneered. "What a poor girl who's never seen the world. I thought you'd use this money to buy some gifts for your family, but I never expected you to be so selfish, even hoarding a mere $200,000. $200,000 is just a month's pocket money for them, but for me, it's a lifeline to get through these years." I didn't respond. John added, "At such a young age, you're already so stingy and unimpressive. Don't ever say you're a daughter of the Upton family when you go out. I'm only Winnie's brother." Got it. I closed the door and went to bed. Maintaining a regular schedule is also an important way to keep your body healthy. After a while, Mr. and Mrs. Upton suddenly pulled Winnie and me aside to choose schools together. The schools Mr. and Mrs. Upton picked were all elite private schools. Winnie excitedly compared the pros and cons of several schools. However, I directly rejected Mrs. Upton's arrangement for both of us sisters to attend the same school. "I want to attend one high school." "What?" As soon as the words were spoken, Mr. and Mrs. Upton were very surprised, while Winnie couldn't hide her delight, but she still pretended to be reserved and advised, "Sister, if we attend a prestigious school, We won't have to take the college entrance exam in the future. There's no need to work so hard. Or is it that you just don't want to be in the same school as me?" As she spoke, she put on a cautious and timid expression. Sure enough, Mr. and Mrs. Upton gave me disapproving looks. I really didn't want to get too entangled with them. Mr. Upton's gaze flickered as he looked at me, revealing his inner conflict. I knew what he was thinking. He was worried that I would embarrass him by entering the elite school. In my previous life, Winnie and I entered the elite school together. On the day I entered the school, I caused a sensation across the entire campus. The reason was that I was too out of place. It was as if I were a wild person who had lived in a primitive tribe for over a decade, suddenly thrust into the urban life of modern society, coupled with the fact that my identity as the daughter of the Upton family had spread. Many people at the school came to see what the Upton family's daughter looked like. At that time, I was short in stature, malnourished, and anemic, which made my complexion pale. I had a timid and submissive demeanor, and compared to Winnie, I looked like an ugly duckling. Whenever people mentioned me, they treated me as a joke. Later, a boy pursued me and took great care of me. I would share with him the pain of my family background and confide in him the secrets of my teenage years. On the day I officially confessed to him, I found out he had only made a bet with a friend. The bet was about how long it would take him to win over someone like me, a ugly duckling. Our chat records were made public by him. The veil of my teenage years was torn away, and I became the laughingstock of the entire school. After learning about this, Mr. Upton flew into a rage and slapped me across the face. "If I had known you were so shameless, I never should have taken you in." The slap was delivered with full force, rupturing my eardrum and causing me to lose hearing in one ear permanently. Of course, the Upton family never found out. At that moment, Mr. Upton's eyes flickered, and I knew he was afraid I would embarrass him. I slowly began. "I want to go to one high school. I like public schools." Mrs. Upton was about to say something but was interrupted by Mr. Upton. "Under the guise of respecting the child's choice, in the end, it concluded with you enrolling in a private school in the High School District, while I went to J City one High School. After the school started, I attended J City one High School for 2 weeks. I am very satisfied with the teaching environment at J City one High School, where the teachers spare no effort in imparting knowledge to the students. The academic atmosphere at the school is excellent. Attend high school, get into college, and leave the Upton family." I set goals for myself, however. The teaching at one High School is strict, and commuting back and forth every day is too time-consuming, so I applied for on-campus accommodation. At the dinner table, both Mr. and Mrs. Upton were taken aback by my decision. Winnie, however, was very happy. Our life paths had already begun to diverge. Mrs. Upton looked at me with a hint of resentment in her eyes. I knew she blamed me for not being closer to her. Mr. Upton looked at me for a few seconds and eventually agreed as well. I packed my things as quickly as possible and completed the boarding procedures. The Upton household, now without me, returned to its former cheerfulness. Meanwhile, I buried myself in my studies at school, watching my academic ranking climb bit by bit. As I got closer to my goal, I worked even harder. After moving into the dorm, I hardly ever went back to the Upton home. Of course, they wouldn't care how I was doing, as if I had never been there. I saw Winnie again when I went out with my classmates to buy study materials. A loud roar and a cloud of dust choked the few of us. I looked up and saw a few guys who looked like spiritual youths, revving their motorcycles on the street. I didn't pay much attention at first, but I never expected to see Winnie sitting on the back of one of the motorcycles. But she obviously didn't recognize me. She sat in the back of the car, cheering loudly and taking occasional puffs of her cigarette. Winnie was raised in the Upton family with great care. She shouldn't be smoking and cruising around like this. A classmate noticed me staring at that group of people and nudged my arm, asking what was wrong. I shook my head and said it was nothing. The affairs of the Upton family have nothing to do with me. I held my study materials tightly and returned to school with my classmates. During the summer vacation of my first year of high school, I went back to the Upton family's house. Perhaps the intense study mode at school caused me to develop a high fever. I was in a daze and wanted to go downstairs to find some hot water to take my medicine. I didn't expect to run into John. I haven't seen John since I started boarding at school. I could feel my body temperature rising. I reached out to pour hot water but heard John sneer. "Tina, what are you pretending for? Isn't it just to act pitiful in front of me?" He looked me up and down and said, with such a petty trick. You think you can fool me? I ignored his sarcasm, took my medicine, and went back to my room. The next day, I felt a bit better after waking up, but when I went downstairs, the entire villa felt cold and deserted. The nanny said the family of 4 had gone to see the sea. I nodded and prepared to go to the hospital for a comprehensive health checkup. After receiving the test results, I carefully followed the doctor's instructions and began taking medication to improve my health. Health is the foundation of all endeavors. I cannot afford to collapse before the college entrance exams. After being discharged from the hospital, I received a message from Mrs. Upton. She contacted me only a few times this year. Tina, your dad and I are planning to go abroad for a trip together. Do you want to come along? Mom forgot you don't have a passport. What a shame, but Tina, you're quite busy with your studies, so we'll take you next time. I turned off my phone and couldn't help but laugh. Winnie also got a new passport, so why didn't she think about having a daughter back then? I smiled. During the summer vacation, I focused on both recuperating and studying. With just me at home, it's much more convenient to get things done. From time to time, I see Winnie's social media posts saying, "The whole family is out having fun together." With carefully selected 9 square grid photos, Mrs. Upton also occasionally posts on her social media feed, with pictures of Winnie in Switzerland and John in Egypt. Winnie also occasionally sends me some provocative messages, which I completely ignore. Perhaps seeing that I ignore her, she gradually stopped sending me these messages. Right now, my mind is only focused on studying. Studying brings me joy. Studying brings me happiness. After I sent this message to my desk mate late at night, she replied, "Have you gone crazy from studying? Successfully bothered my friend. Now back to studying." Winnie's elite school starts later than mine, so by the time she prepared a bunch of gifts to show off to me, I had already left for school. After the school started, I continued to study step by step. I achieved the top score in my grade on the first exam. Many classmates praised me for being both good-looking and a good student. I asked my desk mate, "Have I really become better looking?" My desk mate gave me a sidelong glance. "You not only secretly studied during the summer break, but you also secretly improved your looks." I touched my face. The acne I had before seems to have cleared up. I'm really getting better. Bit by bit, my grades are slowly improving, and my health is getting better too. Everything is gradually getting better, just as I had hoped. The days go by, and in the blink of an eye, it's already my senior year of high school. The burden of studying is getting heavier. And it's been a long time since I last visited the Upton family. Mrs. Upton called me and said, "Tina, your sister is preparing to study abroad. We're having a farewell dinner for her tonight. Will you come back?" I know Mrs. Upton was just going through the motions, but I suddenly answered mischievously, "Sure, I'll come back." Mrs. Upton tried to stop me. "Well, Tina, Mom knows you're busy with your studies. It's okay if you don't have time to come back. I'll be there on time tonight." After saying that, I hung up the phone. In my previous life, Mr. Upton found me an embarrassment and had no intention of sending me abroad. He planned to arrange a marriage for me with just anyone. Meanwhile, for Winnie, he carefully selected a school abroad and made all the arrangements for her. Winnie proudly boasted to me, "See, even if you came back, Mom and Dad still love me the most. You're just an outsider." In my previous life, my mind had already become unstable after 3 years of torment from the Upton family. My spirit was also twisted, and I desperately sought the love of my parents. Why didn't my biological parents stand by me, and why didn't they even change my surname to Upton in the 3 years since I returned home? Tina, why am I always the last one? Under Winnie's constant provocation and the indifference of Upton's family, I began to twist. I even fantasized about how they would regret it after I died, but I was wrong. Someone who doesn't love you while you're alive, how could they suddenly realize it after you die? Stimulated by Winnie once again, I ran out of the Upton's house. Mr. and Mrs. Upton were ashamed of me and angrily told me to go home, but I was already blinded by anger at that time. Winnie pretended to call me home, only to push me when a large truck was approaching. I died tragically under the wheels. I thought my parents would be filled with regret for me, just like in the novels. Unexpectedly, my father angrily cursed, "Ungrateful daughter." Mother trembled all over, but her eyes were filled with hatred for me. My brother looked at me as if I were some kind of trash. Winnie's eyes were full of triumph, yet she hypocritically burst into tears. My beloved father said to her, "Don't blame yourself. It's not your fault." My loving mother said to her, "It's okay, you're my only daughter." My dear brother said to her, "A woman like this should have died long ago, living only brings shame to us." My soul floated in midair, watching their contempt for me, yet a flicker of satisfaction passed through their eyes. From now on, there will be no one to disgrace them outside, no one to disturb their happy family life. They showed expressions of relief. John reacted quickly and efficiently, coordinated with the truck driver, arranged for the cremation and burial with the funeral home. Not a single tear was shed throughout the entire process, from the incident to the burial. It took no more than 10 hours, as if nothing had ever happened. Winnie was frightened by the state of my death. My family and relatives comforted her, telling her it wasn't her fault, that I had brought it all upon myself. Winnie showed a sincere smile. From now on, no one would ever compete with her for the status of the Upton family's heiress. My soul floats in midair, mocking itself. "Tina, you're so foolish." I attended Winnie's party on time, watching her being the center of attention, with everyone surrounding her. I was in casual clothes, standing to the side, when my tablemate suddenly popped out and handed me a piece of cake. I turned around and looked at her in surprise. While eating, she said, "This is delicious, have some more, I'll get you something else later." I took a bite and said, "It's really good." And so, amidst the clinking of glasses and the lively chatter, we, dressed in our school uniforms, transformed into culinary explorers, in search of delicious food. Winnie went abroad, and I entered the countdown to the college entrance exam. Everyone was striving hard, sprinting toward the college entrance exam. The moment I walked out of the exam hall, I looked at the beautiful sunset on the horizon. I know, my life has just begun. After the college entrance exam, I rented a small apartment and bought myself all sorts of random little things. I saved up my scholarship money from the past 3 years in this bank card, and after calculating the total, I decided to reward myself with a trip. I went to the seaside I had always dreamed of, feeling the sea breeze gently brush against my face. I posted on my moments after a long time, and my deskmate was the first to like it, saying, "You've been secretly getting prettier behind my back." I replied with a playful, grinning emoji. After returning to the hotel, I carefully examined my reflection in the mirror. Unconsciously, I had transformed from the dark, skinny, and short girl who first arrived in the capital into someone who is now 1.7 meters tall. After studying indoors for a long time without seeing the sun, my skin has become fairer. Now I guess I can be considered a bit of a beauty, right? After Mrs. Upton liked my Moments post, she privately messaged me, "Tina, you become so pretty now. Was that really you in the Moments post?" I replied with, After seeing my Moments post, John commented, "Is this real or fake?" I ignored them. On the day the college entrance exam results came out, I ranked first in the province. The whole school was in an uproar for a while. I was shaking milk tea at the bubble tea shop when the reporter interviewed me. The reporter asked me, and I answered that it was to save up for my college tuition. The principal of one high school generously offered to cover my 4 years of college tuition. In an instant, I became a legend at one high school. Mr. Upton called while I was having hot pot with my deskmate in my small apartment. "Tina, if you snatch my beef again, I'll twist your head off and cook it in the hot pot." Mr. Upton started with a scolding. "Such a big deal like the college entrance exam results coming out, and you didn't even tell the family. Do you still see me as your father?" I was busy grabbing tripe from my deskmate. None. The other side was clearly taken aback by my words but quickly put on airs again. "Anyway, with such good grades, it's not a waste of my efforts in nurturing you. There's a dinner gathering in a couple of days. You should come. I've heard that the Upton family has been having some business troubles lately." "I'm not going." I refused without hesitation. Mr. Upton was about to say something angrily when Mrs. Upton snatched the phone from him. "Tina, I saw on TV that you're still working part-time. Why are you working so hard? We don't lack the little money you make. A girl shouldn't always be out in public." I replied, "I'm earning money to save for living expenses." Mrs. Upton said, "What living expenses, Mom?" Before she could finish, she seemed to realize something, hesitantly asking, "Didn't your dad give you any living expenses?" "None." "What about your brother then?" "None." After saying that, I hung up the phone, and the beef was immediately snatched up. The abilities of netizens these days are quite impressive. I only revealed a little information, and they dug up every detail of my background, including after returning to the Upton family. The Uptons ignored me completely. while showering the fake heiress with affection and even sending her abroad to gain prestige. And I didn't even get to change my surname to Upton. Netizens were outraged, expressing their indignation on my behalf. Watching the Upton family's continuously declining stock prices, I closed my computer with great satisfaction. During this time, the Upton family did consider coming to find me, but I didn't want to see any of them. They used their means to find my address and confronted me. Mrs. Upton looked at me with a sorrowful expression and said, "Tina, Mom knows you've been wronged. No matter what, we are still your parents. Come back with me, and I'll make it up to you." I looked at the grayish-blue shadows under Mr. Upton's eyes. Recently, many people have started digging into the Upton family's business. They've uncovered quite a few issues, and Mr. Upton and John have been so busy they can hardly catch their breath. I took some pleasure in observing their troubled expressions. "You know better than anyone how much sincerity there is in your visit to me today." I hit the Upton family right in the heart. Mrs. Upton was eager to explain further, but I impatiently cut her off. "Don't come looking for me again, or I will definitely call the police and report you for trespassing." They left in disgrace and never came to bother me again. Of course, Mrs. Upton often sends me messages on WeChat, saying things like they realize they were wrong. How hard Mr. Upton and John are working, and hoping I can let bygones be bygones and come home. I replied, "Winnie is doing well abroad, right? If it's really that hard, why not reduce Winnie's living expenses?" Mrs. Upton fell silent. She hasn't sent me any more messages. After entering University A, I studied hard. I also pursued a double major in computer science and finance. In my junior year, my desk mate and I developed a small game and made a small profit. We are partnering up to prepare for starting a business. By this time, the Upton family was no longer what it used to be. Mrs. Upton sent me a message saying that Winnie had made some questionable friends abroad and had developed a gambling habit. She borrowed money from loan sharks overseas, and the interest snowballed into a huge amount. Mr. Upton spent a large sum of money to cover her debts. "The company is getting harder to manage," I replied. "Then let her fend for herself abroad." Mrs. Upton stammered in response, "No matter what, we can't let her actually get killed." I didn't reply to the following messages. It was too noisy. By the time I graduated, I had become the well-known star entrepreneur of our class. My own small company had already started to grow. As the student representative, I stood under the spotlight and said, "No matter the circumstances, never place your hopes in others, and never try to attract attention by destroying yourself. Loving yourself is the beginning of everything. When you become strong, good people will surround you." A few years after graduation, my company gradually expanded, and I gradually became the Mr. Tang people referred to. In recent years, the Upton family has completely gone bankrupt, and I certainly played a part in pushing them over the edge. Upon learning of the Upton family's decline, Winnie began looking for a boyfriend, hoping to use marriage to maintain her social status. Unfortunately, her judgment wasn't great. She ended up with a flashy but fake gentleman. Their married life was a complete mess. I'd rather not dirty my hands. After being named the Enterprise star, the year-end was approaching. I sat in the CEO's office on the 32nd floor, with a beautiful view outside the large floor-to-ceiling window. I took off my high heels, picked up a glass of red wine, and walked barefoot toward the window. While enjoying the view outside the window, I listened to the secretary's report. "John, the representative of the Upton family, wants to see you. He's hoping to secure a partnership with our subsidiary. Tell him that none of my businesses will ever cooperate with the Upton family. Send him away." I took a sip of red wine, sealing the fate of the Upton family's last glimmer of hope. From behind came the voice of my desk mate. "Want to go eat hot pot?" "Sure, let me just put on my shoes. Don't bother with those worn-out high heels to show off. Here are your slippers." "All right, double the spice in the broth." "Got it." After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.